Propane has been used in homes for decades, so how does it work as a vehicular fuel?
Now, we've got a few vehicles in our fleet that we've converted from gasoline to run on both gas and propane. Yeah, it costs us about $8,000 a truck to have it done. It takes us under 2 years to recuperate the cost from actually converting the vehicles. And it works just like every other car. You get in it, turn the key, and the system takes over from there. This particular vehicle behind me, we call that a belly-mounted tank, so it's right in front of the back axle, just behind the driver. So we're purchasing fuel, in the neighborhood of $2 a gallon as opposed to $3 to $4 a gallon. And it cost us about a mile per gallon off of our economy, but that more than makes up for it in the long run. The biggest benefit I found is cost savings all the way around. Aside from half the cost of gasoline, I can also double my oil changes. I go 10,000 miles instead of 5,000 miles on an oil change. And when that oil comes out, it looks like it's never been in a vehicle. So it's much healthier on the engine.
Propane is not only healthier for the vehicle, it's healthier for you.
Fort trucks have been ran in factories for years inside, no ventilation, on propane because the emissions don't produce the carbon monoxide levels that you get out of gasoline. You can still measure some coming out of it, but the levels are super, super low.
Some people aren't interested in using propane for their car because they think that propane is more explosive than regular gasoline.
Motorhomes and RVs and Schwann delivery trucks have been running on propanes for 20 or 30 years. And you don't hear anything in the news about those exploding. They're not any more dangerous than gasoline in that respect.
We've heard about some of the benefits of using propane as a vehicular fuel, so what are the drawbacks?
It takes about 15 minutes or so to fuel them up as opposed to 5 or 10 minutes on gasoline. The biggest downfall I've found is getting someone to do it. Ford has come up with a new engine that they call it propane ready. So it comes out of the box with all the holes drilled in it that you need to add the propane conversion kit, but finding someone in town to do it is the biggest problem.
A lot of business fleets have chosen propane as a vehicular fuel for their cars and trucks, but how many individuals have converted their cars?
I think we've only got 1 or 2 regulars at this point in time, but compared to 3 years ago when no one had done it, that's a big step.
The super mileage program is based around these small eco cars that we make that are based to get good gas mileage. This car right here is our battery electric solar car. It is based off battery powered, which is a small motor inside the wheel, which is practically not visible. And the solar on top is just used to kind of regenerate power.
The solar panels are constantly improving in their technology. The ones we have here are very delicate and they're very expensive.
They're kind of impractical to human driving conditions. Definitely not made for comfort. It's not too fun to drive, but it's definitely an experience.
Mater Dei's competitive solar car recently achieved 600 miles per kilowatt hour. While practical solar-powered cars are still a ways off, the Evansville Police Department has come up with a way to harness the power of the sun to cut down on emission-producing idling and extend battery life in patrol cars.
Sometimes you get on a run if you're at a traffic accident or you've got a roadblock for a certain reason. The battery in your car, if you don't leave the car running, it'll start to go down. Now what we see when those batteries completely die, the first thing that happens is you have to get somebody to come give you a jump start, and long term you've lost a lot of your battery life because it died. About 5 years ago, we started retrofitting battery tending solar panels in some of our Ford Crown Vics. We were running into some issues with the battery life because of some of the equipment that we're using when we're out on these different incidents. What we wanted to do is make sure that we could keep the battery life as long as possible so we wouldn't have to replace batteries. We have about 25 to 30 of our vehicles are equipped with the solar panels, and we've also been able to outfit the motorcycles with the solar panels for the same reasons. But if you're at a scene and you want to turn the engine off and leave the radio on, you've got your computer still on, you're able to do that because of these solar panels, so there's definitely a benefit. There's not really a downside for the use. We just have to be careful with them because they're delicate, and not everything that police officers do puts you in a delicate environment. So we do have to be aware of that, but fortunately, because of the low cost, if one does get damaged while we're in a pursuit or something like that, it's not too expensive to replace. And it's something that you're probably going to start seeing spread around the country, and we're trendsetters in that, so we're proud of that.
A lot of the alternative fuels we have mentioned in the show today are already available locally. Now let's take a look at some other fuels that may be headed our way soon. First, we'll look at diesel fuel created by algae. It's called drop-in biofuel, which means it can use the current diesel distribution system. Here's an excerpt from the program, We've Got the Power.
A company called Solazyme is making renewable jet fuel from algae.
Oil from algae, really?
Really, it's a reality, not just a concept.
Okay, so break down the science for me. We start with green fuzzy stuff.
What we start with is plant biomass, any biomass, grass clippings, sugarcane, agricultural residues, and we feed them to microalgae, which convert all that plant biomass directly into designer crude oil. Algae is the source of a lot of the petroleum that's pulled out of the ground. What we've done is develop the ability to make oil using algae in real time. So our process just takes a couple of days.
A lot of people think electrifying transportation is the solution, but you're definitely going in a fuel direction. Why?
It's not an either-or choice between electrical vehicles and biofuels. We need all of the solutions. For things like long-haul trucking, ships to go across the ocean, and particularly jet fuel, electricity will not replace those.
Most people see hydrogen as the best long-term option with zero emissions. At this time, however, there are only a few fueling stations in California and South Carolina. The cost of fuel cells is declining, but still remains fairly pricey at several $1,000s, and only one manufacturer, Honda, actually sells a hydrogen car to the public. Other automakers have hydrogen concept cars, so there may be more choices in the future. Another limitation of the hydrogen car is its range. Currently, it can only travel about 300 miles without refueling.